Hey, what's up guys and girls? This is JJ here with a review demo of the Fender Bassbreaker Series 007 amplifier. This is the head version. It's a 7 watt all-tube Class A amplifier with a single power tube. That's why it's called single-ended. So single power tube, EL84, two 12AX7 tubes in the preamp. It's dirt simple. Really you have 5 controls, bass, middle, treble. You've got your gain control and your master control. And it's got a built-in treble boost, which really sounds fine in conjunction with this kind of circuit. The cool thing about the Bassbreaker amplifiers is that they are like moderately priced amplifiers, and all of the models in the series, they all have their own little personality. I've tried all of them. I've owned the Bassbreaker 15 for some time. It's a little, it's got more power. It's got reverb, digital reverb, it's got an effects loop and a really great, XLR out for recording. But really, besides the 1830, the 007 is my definite favorite, and I'll tell you why. I've also owned the combo version of this, used that at home, and used this in the band into a Harley Benton 1x12 cabinet, really solid open back cabinet, really cheap. But it's actually got a proper Celestion Vintage 30 speaker in there, which works really great. It's easy to toss around, and I don't really have to worry about it getting dinged up or something. This amplifier has seen plenty of live use, rehearsals, and studio use, and I love it for that. So the question you're probably asking yourself, or you want answered when you're watching this video is it loud enough to gig with? Well, yes. The answer is yes. As opposed to what many people will say, a 7 watt tube amplifier, in my humble opinion, is definitely loud enough to gig with. Because 9 out of 10 times, you're going to get mic'd up anyway. And usually the sound guy is yelling at us to turn the hell down because we're way too loud on stage and they can't make a proper, front of house mix and a proper monitor mix. It is loud enough to gig with when you're being mic'd up. Is it loud enough to gig with without being mic'd up? So for instance, if you're playing in a pub or like a bar with a drummer. I play in a 3-piece band, really cool band by the way, Legendary Orchestra of Love. Look us up. 3-piece band. I'm the only guitar player, and I've used this amplifier exclusively for almost a year in that band. Even in bar gigs where I had to turn up all the way, and yes, it was loud enough. So then the problem is, of course it's going to go loud, and of course it's going to have plenty of bass end thanks to that 12-inch speaker, and it is a pretty bassy sounding amplifier. The problem is it doesn't have a lot of clean headroom. So what you were just hearing, I had the gain set to 12 o'clock. Dimed all of the EQ controls because that's when I get the nicest mid-range and treble response from the amp with this particular guitar. And I had the master at about 10 o'clock, which is fine for apartment use as I'm doing right now. The thing is, if you're going to turn up the amplifier, of course that single power amp tube at some point is going to distort as well. So you get power amp tube, power amp compression. I love that sound. There's nothing better than simply playing a gig, go like this, in one smooth movement, dime the amp and control the rest of it by means of the guitar's tone and volume controls. But there's quite a bit of hiss there. That's normal for any guitar amp that's been driven so hard. So it doesn't have a lot of clean headroom. It starts to distort quite quickly up on the gain level. So if I kind of improperly use these controls and use my master volume control, turn it all the way up and have the gain turned all the way down, let's see how clean I can get with that. Volume on the guitar all the way up. Really nice Fender type clean sound. That is a great platform for pedals, of course, and yes, it does take pedals very well, even delays and reverbs in the front end if you like that type of sound. It's not going to sound as processed, but it's definitely going to sound really big. But as you can hear, if I start, you know, turning up that gain control, it's going to get dirty at almost 9 o'clock. So if you need an amplifier that is squeaky, squeaky clean as a good platform for your pedals, and take all of your pedals and use them for your dirt needs of fuzzes, overdrives, distortions, you might want to look somewhere else. So who is this amplifier for? It is a real rock and roll amplifier. It's single-ended, so you can drive it really hard at moderate volumes, at pub volume. You can simply dime it and it will keep up with the drummer and the bass player, but you will have to be able to master the art of manipulating the guitar's volume and tone controls, you know, to regulate the amount of gain that you want from the amplifier. I love playing in that fashion. I really, really think it's a very liberating experience going with just a single cable right into an amplifier like this, that's really cooking, and then, you know, like, make it through that show. That is kind of my cup of joe, and I love it for that. It's a perfect amplifier for me. And then if you want more gain from the amplifier, you've always got this treble boost that is foot switchable as well. So it runs into any 8 ohm cabinet, doesn't have an effects loop, it has a line out that is virtually useless because it's not cabinet emulated, and it has a very nasty hiss to it, so I wouldn't recommend using that. It's got flexible EQ that you can actually, you know, tune to the room. If you find it too bass heavy, you can simply turn down the bass. I would suggest starting, I think, with everything maxed out, and then backing off what you don't want to hear. If you want less mids, just turn down the mids control and stuff like that. So this one's got quite a bit of wear and tear on it from a lot of road use. I'm micing it up with a Sennheiser E609 knockoff, and I think it sounds terrific. So what I'll do next is I'm just going to flip the amp over and give you a close-up cam, take you through the controls, let you hear some different sounds, all from this Telecaster, and after that I will give you my my verdict. Alright, so here's a close-up of the control panel of the Bassbreaker 007. As I said, gain, master, 3-band EQ, treble boost, lovely white pilot light, power on off, so no standby on this, but it doesn't get terribly hot anyway. So I'm on the bridge pickup of the Telecaster, and I'm just gonna put all controls at 12 o'clock and let you hear what that sounds like. Might be too loud for apartment use, but hey, I don't care. As you can hear, very touch sensitive. So if I really, you know, like, play softly on the guitar, dig in, I can really make it gain up like that. So let me just turn down on the gain, turn down on the bass a little bit, because this amplifier is a little bit bass heavy. Turn down the mids and turn up the trebles for more of a, you know, like traditional Fender kind of sound. Okay, like that. Really nice clean sound, but it doesn't last long because the master is almost all the way up. I can even do this at apartment levels, and I will, you know, like, hardly be able to talk over it. That's how loud it is. So let me just turn back on the master. By the way, in the intro examples I had the gain at 12 o'clock, and I just used the treble boost for the second part. So let me just let you hear the sweep of the gain range, leaving the bass where it is and setting the treble and the treble in the mids to about 1 o'clock with the master volume right there. A bit louder then. Volume on the guitar is up full. There's another gain stage there. Okay, so that's about as far as the gain control goes. I like the bass turned down a little bit. Let me let you hear how midsy it can get. Bridge pickup. Sounds a little bit more American that way, I suppose. Now I'll just put the gain back to 12 o'clock and let you hear the treble boost once more. So it doesn't actually boost the treble controls, just the high frequencies, but it's more the high mids. That's what the treble boost does. This is boosting the treble, which is not very nice. And this is the treble boost with high mids. Kind of like a range master kind of sound. I really dig that sound with maximum gain. Alright, so just to be foolproof, here's a shot of the rear side of the amplifier. So of course you got your power cable, it's got an 8 ohm speaker out, it's got a line out, which I don't think is very useful. Input for the foot switch, so the treble booster is foot switchable, which is very convenient, and that's it, people. So right there you see the single EL84 glowing brightly, and here's two 12AX7s. It's got a nice little cage, so you can really toss this amp around, and you know, I don't really care if it gets dinged up or something, because well, you know, that's the kind of amp this is. It's not a very expensive tube amplifier, but it gets the job done in a rock and roll context really well. So there you have it, a closer look at one of my favorite amplifiers, the Fender Bassbreaker 007, the head version into a 1x12 cabinet. It doesn't get a lot of love, this amplifier, not on the forums and Instagram and stuff like that. And I don't really get that. Maybe people are using it in the wrong context. So if you're looking for an amp with a lot of clean headroom, this might not be your amp. Or more clearly, then this is definitely not your amplifier. If you're looking for a good all-round dirty amplifier that does great overdrive tones, that for which you don't have to bring your boutique pedals, simply dime it and control it via the master volume control. Ride that volume knob, use an overdrive or a fuzz here and there, and maybe an analog delay in the front end. This is definitely worth checking out. They're not very expensive. I think you can get them on reverb.com for prices between $250 and $300. They're about $300 to $400 new. And they're really well made. You can easily toss this in the back of a car or on the passenger seat or something. Even this little cab, which is not an original Fender cab, which looks a little bit better, of course, but I feel that this speaker is really nice, so that's why I'm using it in this setup. It's easy to carry, it's not terribly expensive, and it sounds really good. Even the tubes that come with this when you buy one new, they're not that bad. It's not like a Vox amplifier that ships with crappy Chinese tubes in it that you have to retube them the day you get it in order to make it sound good, which I think is kind of is always kind of a drag. This sounds really good right out of the box. It's solid, it's lightweight, about 7 kilograms, and for me it gets the job done. So for me, this is a really great amplifier. It might be for you as well if you take into consideration what I've just said about it. So check it out, the Fender Bassbreaker 007. Remember to follow me on Instagram. That's at Tanis. Really nice photos of what's going on in my guitar world. And also new is my Facebook page. That's also JJ Tanis. If you look that up, you can follow my Facebook page and you know, like I'll keep you posted on what I'm working on, new videos and stuff like that. So do that. Like this video if you like it. Please share it if you liked it. Signing off, JJ.